Welcome to another Christmas here at SF Debris, where we are returning to Star Trek after a very long absence. But who could have imagined they'd bring it back only to do this? Section 31. Really, no surprise, is there? It is so incredibly not surprising that they would take the organization that Deep Space Nine, which was brave enough to go dark in a time when that was considered unacceptable for Star Trek, that Deep Space Nine created as the bad guys and said, yes, they need a show about them. To be fair, you can do a lot with villain protagonists, like the ubiquitous Wicked, and like that has not only made the villains the protagonists, but are not the villains, but rather the heroes. Which I suppose means addressing that point. Villainy. DS9 treated Section 31 as the villains. Sometimes villains that got the job done, but villains nonetheless. We, of course, don't have to take that view simply because the show did, though. It's been argued that Species 8472 weren't the villains, despite the declaration, the weak will perish. I mean, maybe that was just tautological. There's nothing we could do about it. The weak will perish. What can you do? People have argued Gul Dukat wasn't a villain, that Captain Jellicoe was in the right, that Khan was just looking out for his people, and hell, I'm unconvinced the Vulcans spying on the Andorians in Enterprise were doing anything wrong. You're free to think for yourself and come to your own conclusions. Don't be compelled to accept whatever it says. So with that, I'll throw out my view. And the question that this hinges on for me is Section 31 a rogue organization or one that is answerable to the Federation leadership or the chain of command? If it's the latter, if they truly are executing the Federation and or Starfleet's policies, then the organization itself isn't the villain. If an FBI division is disappearing Americans to black sites, but this is sanctioned or even ordered by the Justice Department and or the federal government, then the blame for these actions is on them and everyone else up the chain too. If a hand stabs someone because it's possessed, the hand is evil. If it stabs someone because the brain said to, the person is evil. Now I said, then it isn't the villain, and then gave two clear-cut examples of villainy. But those are examples of villainy. What about what Section 31 actually does? The most egregious would be infecting the Founders with a biological weapon, which not only is an attempt at genocide, but earned me unbelievable amounts of frustration from people who forget that besides Section 31 infecting Odo to infect the Founders once used Weyoun to infect Odo with a disease so he'd have to come home. If I had a nickel for every time someone in the comments of my Weyoun biography said Section 31 infected Odo, well, I wouldn't need to work on Christmas Day. So, as I see things, there's one of two possibilities here. Either Section 31 was carrying out a sanctioned Starfleet/Federation operation, or it was not sanctioned. If it's sanctioned, then it says that Section 31 is merely the visible sign of the rot at the core of Starfleet and the Federation, who are willing to allow species to be wiped out through inaction because of the Holy Prime Directive, and will intentionally wipe species out because of the I'm saving my fucking ass directive. The implication of DS9 is that it wasn't sanctioned, but that the Federation wasn't in a rush to fix it since it's already in motion. So if that's the case, and Section 31 decided to carry out biological warfare and used a Federation ally as a carrier against his will, that sounds a hell of a lot like a terrorist organization to me. And we're talking serious terrorism here, like you should scream Cobra while you're doing it. But ever since the post-Enterprise cancellation and subsequent new regime of Star Trek began, Section 31 has gone from this closeted shadow organization who seemingly answers to no one, to their version of the CIA or MI5, spycraft stuff, which, considering I just said that I think spying on Andorians wasn't wrong, I can't simply dismiss that. Indeed, in this period, it seems that Section 31 is employed as simply any old such group. James Bond does worse than Section 31 much of the time by now. Even Lower Decks, which is so centered it has an episode on trusting in the system, has Section 31 as just a secret-y sort of place and not a who wants the anthrax? So that then adjusts everything again. If this is just Star Trek 007, if they're not going to be a rogue terrorist organization, but just a clandestine part of what the Federation knowingly does, well, then that's okay. You could even make that work by saying that the events from in between Conspiracy on TNG and the end of the Dominion War was all part of a brief diversion, that the craziness of that alien parasite invasion led to them freaking out and going rogue for 15 or so years. But the death of Sloane and the end of the Dominion War made everybody get their shit together again and fall back under the original remit. To make a long story short, Section 31 is Star Trek's Mission Impossible now. So long as that doesn't include putting Cobra Commander back in charge again, okay, I'm willing to give that a go. So, having addressed the first part of the Section 31 movie, now let's address the second part. Movie. This isn't a movie. This is a failed pilot. I'm going to call it a movie because that's what it officially is, and I don't need a failed pilot section on my website, as that would just consist of this and Pants to be Darkened Wonder Woman. We all heard there was supposed to be a Section 31 series, but some wrinkles happened and it got postponed. And thanks to being postponed, well, in the interim, their lead went on to become the first Asian to win the Academy Award for Best Actress, thanks to her celebrated performance in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and now has become incredibly in high demand, such as the aforementioned Wicked. So after all the trouble of getting her out of Discovery and into the past, though inexplicably not back far enough in the past, they realized they had a star and there was no possible way she would do an entire series for them now. So they said, and this is the interesting part, we're just going to have to not do the series at all then and just stick with this. Meanwhile, she is in fact the big name for Amazon's Blade Runner series. Maybe she won't do the whole series, but they didn't just say, oh, well, in that case, we'll just take our first one and shit can the rest. No, this series likely didn't make it because this pilot is not wowing anybody. And that leads to another problem with the Section 31 movie. This isn't great entertainment. Now, don't get me wrong, Section 31 is actually not awful. It's not any more awful than Broken Bow, and it's certainly better than Second Contact on Lower Decks was. By the standards of a pilot, this rises to the impressive level of meh. Okay, well, not quite meh. Meh minus. This is not, oh, this is so awful. This is, things are happening. If this were any more pedestrian, this would be downtown Tokyo. So this is a further strike against it. It's not so bad it's good, or even so bad it's bad. It's just so bland it qualifies as present. Some works are a monument to bad taste. Section 31 is a participation trophy. So the first thing we do, besides this quote by Aeschylus, which I suppose is appropriate since he wrote tragedies and we're about to experience one, we head into the Terran Empire. Yep, double your bad guys today, Section 31 and the Mirror Universe. There's a young Philippa Georgiou here returning home to her family. Terra Prime established that she didn't inherit the throne, she achieved it, and we're about to see how. There was a contest, some kind of Hunger Games sort of thing, I think. Not sure, admittedly I've never actually seen it. I've been up to my tits in Brandon Sanderson Doorstoppers. No, I haven't seen the Hunger Games. Apparently, despite all of the scheming and murdering your way ahead, all of a sudden everybody's fine with just having reality TV decide who gets to be the supreme ruler of the quadrant. The only two left in this contest are San and Georgiou, who formed a pact or something. That's how they managed to get through to this final round. And turns out it's sudden death. Extremely sudden death. Whoever poisons their family first wins. Like with Section 31, the Mirror Universe here is getting the edges sanded off. Not only are they not ready to just simply stab each other in the back the first time they'll get an advantage from it, but she weeps over her dead family who stood between her and absolute power. On the one hand, this is nuance. But on the other, it's the kind of nuance that fits like the Amish market selling meth. Hey, want to try some of the Devil's Crystal English? Well, that's finished. The forces beam down to show that Sam chickened out and refused to slay his family. So she is now the Emperor, and conveniently her father was making a sword when she arrived, so she can use that to burn his face. So, at least that is playing to expectations. Okay, with that done, we get to... we've got a load screen here. Must be a complicated map for this level. Control provides exposition. The Giorgio is from the Mirror Universe, brought here in the mid-23rd century. I'd like to take a moment to thank Microsoft Word for autocorrecting that to the 23rd century. Your AI isn't exactly nipping at the heels of the big dogs there. She was brought here, lost contact, and now inexplicably we're in the 24th century, and she's been spotted outside the Federation using the alias Madame de Franck, which is French for Mrs. Butterworth. This is all laid out like the aforementioned Mission Impossible. Control even calls them your 31 team. There's a threat on the black market there that needs to be dealt with. See if you can get some wirework stuff in there, gang. And now, 10 minutes in, we get to the title, followed by this tacky space station where Giorgio runs the place.
Small incident in the honeymoon suite. I'm afraid the bride molted just as things were coming to a climax.
Guess you had to be there. I'm glad I wasn't. This guy makes me almost pine for Neelix. But we get more of him as the Section 31 team lead is trying to get a one-on-one conversation with Giorgio. And maybe more than just a conversation.
Why would I take you to my office? Alok-Saha.
Because it's a hands-on experience.
A lot of chemistry going on here, like helium and a bucket of piss. He's brought her some sparkly things. Who gives a shit? They've got nothing to do with the plot. She spotted that Section 31 is here. She lays them all out so fast we can't even keep up with the details that's being rattled off. I can't emphasize enough what a mistake this is. The entire story depends upon these characters, and they are introduced in a way you normally only see done in parody. Which is sad because most of these have potential. You've got a shapeshifter. You've got a guy in power armor. You've got a microscopic dude that's piloting around a fake Vulcan. This has a serious chance to intrigue the audience, and intrigue is a fast track to investment. Instead, it's fucking robot roll call. Let's move on.
I'm authorized to arrest you.
Really? I'm authorized to steal Epcot Center, but it's going to take more than a backup of 5 wiki summaries to do it. What he's really saying is that they want her help with a mission. If she refuses, then it's a declaration of war with Section 31. But which is going to land harder with the former Terran Emperor? War or being arrested? Yeah, he was really flexing there, wasn't he? At this point, let me just revisit this. It's just amazing how all this sounds when you just put it down on paper. A collection of unique characters with interesting backgrounds. The classic Casablanca Rick's bar setup. And it's about spies trying to save the galaxy. I must say, it is a massive achievement. They've taken all of this and managed to get me to not give a fuck about it.
You look like a Swiss Army knife.
I don't know if that's supposed to be a comment on his role, an example of wit, or an insult. And honestly, the fact that I can't tell is a great sign this is horribly written. That's Robert Kaczynski, who will be criminally underutilized. And he gets into a verbal altercation with Quasi, played by Sam Richardson, who I always love, in every terrible movie he's in. Hilarious comic, great performer, awful movies. Everyone now gets a chance for a second introduction here. The Delton, bald chick like in Star Trek The Slow Motion Picture, and the blue hair is Rachel Garrett, a lieutenant in Starfleet, who will go on to be the captain of the Enterprise C in yesterday's Enterprise. That's not a bizarre joke. This is supposed to be her younger days when she worked with Section 31. I can't even possibly guess about this choice. Now that we're getting the proper introduction to the team, it's great to see this is being handled incompetently as well. We're halfway through the first episode of this failed pilot, and we are floundering trying to introduce the audience to the characters. This is a spy movie, allegedly, and all they have done so far is tried to spy on one character and failed. I'm not sure this one's even worth finishing, everybody. This is a postmortem on a man killed by a monkey with a gun. All the interesting stuff happened before it got to our table. They're here for Dada No. It's supposed to be pronounced Dada, but sometimes it's pronounced Dada, which sounds like data, which is incredibly confusing if this were data. Well, not as confusing as if data were purple, of course. Dada is here to sell a superweapon, and they need to prevent the sale. The plan had been that out of the way, then Quasi would impersonate Mrs. Frank, while Fuzz, the little guy piloting the Vulcan body around, would fly out, get into his cybernetics, and do whatever sabotage is needed to get the job done. It's an interesting choice, having a member of a covert organization going around like Timu Iron Man. The only time this guy wouldn't stand out is if you had to infiltrate Comic-Con. So they leave this all in Georgiou's hands, because obviously there's no way they couldn't just walk up and take that box away from him. I guess they're going to find out that there's some kind of arrangement so that you can't just possibly get him to drop it. Well, he must have some kind of security that they're going to have to deal with.
Give me back my case.
There's the security, a small gun. Well, I see why an elaborate 6-person operation was called for, and bringing in an asset, rather than blasting him with a phaser on stun. Mission Impossible, I'm told, if I haven't seen The Hunger Games, you can bet I never saw any Mission Impossible after 2, it's reached the point of elaborate action sequences conceived and then plots retroactively invented to connect them together. This is operating on the same logic, only done worse. Someone has conceived that this should feature a contest involving Kitty Pryde phasing powers, and it should have a team, and didn't really bother with connecting why we needed either of those things. This is sloppy stuff. And I'll add, in case there is a fig leaf in there somewhere that I might have missed, if I did miss it, it's because it was buried under irrelevant bullshit, or I was too bored to notice it, which makes it more of a you problem than a me problem, Section 31. Yeah, why do we need this tech in here? I mean the phasing, not the mech guy. Damn, I'll say it again. They've got a mech guy. There's a saying that golf is a good walk spoiled by a small white ball. Section 31 is a good ensemble spoiled by a small bland script. I, intellectually, want to see a group like this in action. Actual me, though, seeing this group in action, wants to watch How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Because for one thing, his covert operation was more ambitious and competently carried out. Well, we now get to why the MacGuffin is phased. It's because someone else who is also phased showed up to fight for it. How incredibly plausible. And we still don't have an actual reason for this to be happening. Why are they phased? So we can have this fight. So they fight and they fight and they fight and they fight for quite a long time, it should be admitted. This is a good thing for the show to do, though. Having spycraft in science fiction means that you can do things that contemporary spycraft can't. Like this. James Bond and Tom Cruise can get impressive gear, and so can their enemies. But the ability to pass through solid objects, that's going to strain credulity. Bond's Q is not like Trek's Q, where he can just do whatever he wants. Blasting through walls, wonderful idea on a space station. Well, our Delton steps in once they're both solid, using her species' charm power to distract the masked man long enough to kick him in the face. This ends with... Oh no, and I was so invested in what's-her-name. So, more fighting. As I said, there is a lot of it, and no gun. You're not disrupting a movie star. Ultimately, her doohickey gets damaged a little bit, so she gets stuck going through the wall, unable to bring her foot through. Seeing this alleged movie's contrivances and level of stupid, it's surprising this doesn't lead to the villain escaping because a holographic feather is tickling her foot. Well, she sees him open it, revealing some black doodad that sort of reminds me of that interrogation droid Darth Vader sicked on Princess Leia.
That's impossible. I hit that destroyer.
Well, you are in a parallel universe. It's just possible there was one here, whatever it is. Sahar catches her admitting to recognizing it, and when she won't spill immediately... Oh, now you remember you can shoot people. Being stunned unconscious triggers a flashback to when she was the undisputed master of the quadrant, and not running a bar.
All hail, the most imperial majesty, mother of the fatherland.
Here we go again. You may be shocked to learn that this movie is the work of people heavily involved in the early seasons of Discovery. Yeah, it shows a little bit. Oh, on the off chance that you don't know what Discovery is, basically it's a long-form look at one woman's inability to get over herself. San's here to present that tacky black thing to her, saying that the engineers who made it all took their lives afterwards. I assume because they were told to and not as a matter of conscience. I mean, even they're not suggesting this about the mirror universe, are they? But the fact that San laments that she was an innocent girl who used her ring to create a fist, it makes me wonder. Look, it's not that the people are trapped in a mindset that is inescapable. I mean, there are ways that they could change, perhaps, but there is a heavy cultural influence that they are downplaying here. Again, I'm all for nuance, but it just doesn't fit. It's like if you wanted to make a tale about a Klingon trying to cope with his private secret of PTSD, showing a side you didn't often see a proud warrior wanting to show. That sounds like it's got potential, maybe. But instead of doing that, you show a whole industry of Klingon therapists. That's not going to work. Klingons don't need anger management. They know how to manage getting angry just fine. So after his condemnation of her, he's revealed to have taken the same poison she once used to kill her family, then dies. Then she wakes up in the present, inside of a Section 31 safe house in cuffs. She starts making clear this bad weapon is, in fact, bad, and finally goads him into revealing his past to her.
The eugenics wars.
Get out of here. Section 31, the mirror universe, and now augments? FFS, who's going to join the team next? Lore? This is just what we needed, isn't it? Star Trek Suicide Squad. We can bring in Armus, too, there, you know? He's definitely going to have to come back. We're going to learn that he didn't mean to kill Tasha. He just doesn't know his own strength sometimes, and secretly he's deeply tormented about it. He's not a skin of evil. He's a skin of product of his own loneliness. Anyway, if you're wondering, this guy wasn't born an augment. He got augmented later, so he's augment light. Now that that's out there, she admits that she had the weapon built, and we can slide into the second episode of this movie. This reveals another problem. Best of Both Worlds 2 parts form an excellent piece of television, with the events, arcs, and themes of the first part informing the second. But they do still feel like two distinct episodes, because the first half builds to a climax, then that is resolved and starts building again in the next part. And this affects the growth, the pacing, everything. And that doesn't mean that this project was inherently doomed because of this structure. Deep Space Nine's Way of the Warrior and Voyager's Dark Frontier showed how this could work. But you have to work at a high level to pull it off. This does not rise to that level. The weapon's called the Godsend, and its purpose is to just kill everybody. Don't worry about the details. Like so much else, it's just freaking absurd. Just think, big bomb that'll kill everybody. That's the level we're operating on anyway. It was made to be an insurance policy. If anyone killed her, she'd wipe out the whole Terran Empire with it. I think Putin's probably got one of them buried somewhere, in fact. There's strong disagreement on whether they should include Georgiou in this. Their colleague did die trying to follow her plan. But she's in, so...
Her Most Imperial Majesty.
Mother of the fatherland.
Overlord of Vulcan.
Oh, for fuck.
I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but two things right now. Jack and shit. And Jack left town.
He admits to being from the mirror universe after a few punches to the face, and that the Godsend was stored in the facility he worked out of. Apparently it wasn't destroyed, so he decided instead to nick it and sell it. Only, he's doing so here, so that if it's used, it won't blow up where he lives. There's a place where ion storms regularly converge, creating an anomaly that connects the two universes, and you can easily slip between them. And the Terran Empire is anxious for this. They're looking for a solution to their resource shortfalls, and so are planning to invade. Well, he asserts that someone on this team is the one who informed the guy who stole it, because no one in his universe knew he had it or was coming here. Only their team. Oh, and Section 31. Oh, and everyone in the government that was interested in buying it. But aside of that 1,000 or so people who could have known, it had to be one of you six. Well, this is proven correct because a bomb goes off on this ship. Winds up killing Data, which is fine because he keeps getting called Data now, and that's just getting frustrating. So they get beamed away, but the ship is destroyed, proving that there is a mole, and that this safe house is really not living up to its name. To back that up, there's also no emergency way out of here. There's just an old garbage scow that maybe they could get working, but that's an improvised plan. Not the kind of plan that Section 31 ought to be relying on. They also are going to need to try to get the non-functional comm system functional. That's even worse. We have left Section 31. We've left Star Trek. This movie should have Ubisoft in its title instead. They've got 2 possible jobs, so they'll split into teams of 3 that need to always keep sight of each other. That means Georgiou is with Fuzz and Quasi working on the scow. Richardson is a skilled improv comic. Why, even in terrible movies, he's still fun. He makes the interrogation of the former emperor that much more painful for her. The overkill of the Godsend, the lack of fail-safes, and a culture that would keep it rather than destroy it, none of that reflects well on her. As far as the antenna goes, Zeph is wisely not getting involved. This is not a situation that can be solved with heavy violence or flexing. He's staying in his lane. Interestingly, just like the ship, this thing is only missing a part. Install the part, both can work again. Only Zeph then vanishes on them, which looks bad. Honestly, I have a hard time seeing him as the mole, and I realize that this is a quality any mole should really have, but even so, there's going to be some skulking around. You're not going to do that when you weigh probably 3 times as much as a normal person at least. So, found the missing piece. The other team arrives to join in checking it out, and the part is gone again. Plus, it's now been blasted. They all think it's obvious that Zeph did it, and yeah, circumstantial evidence doesn't look good, but I'm not seeing it. If he is really seriously pulled the wool over all our eyes, well, he's earned the W here. They go searching for him, only he's dead. So not the mole. Or he is, and he couldn't take the guilt. Except Georgiou finds one of Garrett's hairs on the body, and admittedly it's unlikely she'd get that close unless she had to. Plus, there's blood under her nails. Seems pretty cut and dry, and Georgiou is ready to torture the truth out of her, but the boss isn't going to allow that. He's given her all the torture privileges she's going to get today. Well, that's when Quasi reveals something interesting. The suit's footage shows Zeph killed himself, and not willingly. Yeah, that narrows the suspects down to, 1, assuming no one in here is secretly a wizard. They sit around trying to think. Admittedly, it doesn't have to be the obvious suspect, but it is fairly obvious that it's Fuzz. It's already been established that he can fly into cybernetic beings and take control of things. Yeah, a computer virus maybe could do that, but all fingers point to the guy that you can't actually see. Georgiou, who of course has watch out for the knife coming for your back burned into her, pieces it together first, that the Vulcan body has an autopilot mode that allows it to do rather basic interactions like it's been doing, the reason why it suddenly had nothing to contribute to their conversations. Well, I mean, he's silent, not sure he ever actually contributed anything to their conversations. Unfortunately, he still has remote control of Zeph's suit and uses that to create a distraction so he can escape on a skiff thing. So they pursue on their own skiff thing. Surprisingly, this chase scene doesn't actually last long. They quickly catch up. Guess we've decided to trade the chase in for fisticuffs. The 2 skiffs lock together and it's a boarding party, mateys! Still, back to, unfortunately, you're fighting a robot, and you're fighting a robot that's wearing a dead guy. The suit is wearing Zeph's corpse like a hat right now. Quasi has to bail when his boss gets knocked off to catch him before he's a human crayon on this tunnel, leaving Georgiou alone. She is able to knock the mech off, leaving just Fuzz. Yeah, she stabs him in the back, important talent in her line of work, and Fuzz lets slip about her killing her family. Yeah, San is the one he's working with. Shockingly, the poison didn't kill him. More shockingly, he's 125 years old and still a ninja somehow. Or did they forget that detail? I'm betting they forgot that detail. In the midst of this scribbled excuse for a pilot, they missed yet another detail. San beams Fuzz away, then they're off to the Crescent Nebula. They explain the plan because, as established, it runs entirely on justify the set pieces. Fuzz mentioned the Godsend to San because they're interdimensional pen pals, I guess. So San is taking the Godsend to give to the Empire when they come so they can use it on the Federation. That will blow everyone up, leaving them ripe to exploit the planets that they just blew up. I guess. And the Empire will be so grateful for this development, they'll put him in charge. Yeah, I'm not even trying to make it sound stupid. I'm just telling you the slapdash bullshit they call a plot, and they think they're getting away with it by effectively mumbling over the disconnects. It's like that meme about steel underpants, ? Profit, except they're applying it to an interdimensional invasion plan. Well, we have a way off. Turns out Sahar hid the ship component so the mole wouldn't know about it. The plan is to chase down a Terran Empire ship using a garbage scow, with the only useful feature being that it has a beam for collecting the trash. It's set up so that it will then dump the trash into the Crescent Nebula to be destroyed by the radiation, which is an incredibly fantastic coincidence, isn't it? That the safe house is near the place where the boundary is, considering they didn't know about the breach in the Crescent Nebula, or even that there was a breach. They found that out after they'd already arrived. Well, wasn't that the universe feeling in a cooperative mood? They arrive and take a torpedo hit.
Why isn't she changing course? Or do I look like a fortune teller?
I think he was thinking out loud, not asking the opinion of the universe's tiniest Judas. They are latching on with their super garbage powers to tow it toward the radiation, so it'll take down the shields and they can beam over for our third act ass-kicking. And yes, ass-kicking. They both put down their guns so they can fight it out. No phasing tricks, although she has better shoes this time.
Detonation sequence activating.
Not big on failing safe, are we?
We ruled before you behemoths found us, and we will rule again after you're gone.
Apparently Fuzz thinks he's Eren Yeager now. Yeah, Attack on Titan, just in case you started suspecting I never watch anything anymore. Fuzz leaves his body on autopilot to keep up the fisticuffs, while he gets into his ship to blow up Quasi and Garrett.
Plot missile lock.
We have trash, all right? Just trash.
What a coincidence. Lately, that's what I say whenever I go to Disney+. Stan and Giorgio fight and argue. He wants to conquer so that he can set up a Terran Empire that's based upon righteous mercy after he burns everyone's planets. Look, I'll lay out what she said it does, okay? Quote, "It triggers a chain reaction, like a virus passing between planets. Everything in its path incinerates. An entire quadrant would be lost. If my enemies planned to kill me, there would be nothing left to rule." So it's a bit of a puzzler why they keep coming up with plans that involve ruling when we're explicitly told there would be nothing left to rule. I'm not trying to quibble, but these are not little subtle points that they might have missed. It's pretty contradictory. He's literally talking about burning the village to save it. And hell, I haven't even gotten into the part about the virus thing. I don't need to. That'd just be running up the score and dunking on this thing. It's a riddle wrapped in an enigma that's deep-fried in contrivance. Now, this is the point where the pre-climax chaos comes in. Garrett is using a doll's power source to create an IED to hurl at Fuzz's ship. Seon is trying to defeat a Vulcan robot in single combat. And Giorgio is trying to get San to see that you can't create utopia if you burn everyone. Garrett's problem is that it requires Quasi to open the hatch.
Either of these two buttons could open the cargo bay.
Okay, so push them up.
Either of these two buttons could also initiate a self-destruct protocol.
On a garbage scow? It wouldn't be the most illogical development of this plan, actually. So they blow up the ship with a doll, the robot is defeated, and Giorgio mortally wounds San by complete accident. Complete accident. It's close quarters Mr. Bean combat. But now that he's dying, he's all, I changed my mind about you being evil, blah, blah, blah. Still, at least we can deactivate the Godsend now.
Biosignature confirmed. Detonation in 60 seconds.
Or we can blow everybody up. That's a good plan, too. I guess they're going to use it to seal the rift. Because, that's what bombs do. They get beamed out at the last second, so that's sorted out. I'll say this in your Earth English. We finish back in the club where the gang gets back together, including Fuzz's wife in an identical robot body. And this scene before she arrives, this incidentally is horrendous. I wish YouTube wasn't so tight-assed so I could show you in all its ignominy. This stuff includes actual humans saying lines like, "You're a bad bitch," and "I may slaughter you all." It's a special kind of cringe. This is local politician tries to use 6'7" during a press conference cringe. And finally, Jamie Lee Curtis, who co-starred in the aforementioned Everything Everywhere All at Once, cameos as the new Control. I think she could also possibly be Thanos' disappointed mother. Which brings this to an end. Yep. This was alchemy, finding ways to turn gold into lead. Woof. How appropriate it ends on a garbage scow. The only reason it fails to sink to so bad it's good, or even so bad it's bad, is that it lacks the substance to reach bad. Turds float. What a disappointment. Potential characters, potential performers, potential backdrop, and failing to be realized in a compelling way. Oh, what a shame. Take another shot, Paramount. Let's do Wayun and Lore. Jeffrey Combs and Brent Spiner, that'd be printing money. Thanks for watching. Merry Christmas all, and have a great New Year.
Plot missile luck.
We have trash, all right? Just trash.